All right, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Perfect. I just unmuted you girls for a minute. Hello, friends. Look at your twin, Jessie.
Isn't she? Look at
That is like your mini me. Hey, cutie, that is your mini me for sure.
Yeah, she is. I know.
One, but I don't know how to open it on this computer, James.
That's awesome.
Can you hear me, Amanda?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
I'll turn this up for I did my headset so that we can be loud and crazy and John won't be like, you're waking me up downstairs.
Oh,
I'm trying to be respectful. All right. I'll give it another minute and let everybody get on. Who got pumpkin spice today?
I did. I got 2 boxes.
Did you?
We'll see.
I was
I'm not a big fan of pumpkin spice anything, so except for pie.
I remember you saying that in one of the threads, and everybody thought you were crazy.
Yeah, that I just am not a fan, but we'll see. It didn't have pumpkin flavor in it. It just has like the spices, so that might be okay. Take this to Dad and see if he can get the files off of it.
And if worse comes to worse, sell the packets for $5 a pop.
What was that?
I said, if worse comes to worse, sell the packets for $5 a pop. Like, put it. Yeah, I was like, just put something. And I said, I'm going to do that. I got the box, and I bought 2 boxes last year, and I just finished the second box from last year.
Yeah, I've got 4 people in my house that are drinking Shakeology now, so we'll
That's
see.
what I'm talking about. It'll get drank. That's for sure.
Somebody will drink it, right?
Somebody will drink it.
Popcorn.
Okay.
Hi, Decker.
It's bedtime. Come say hi.
All right.
Say hi to Missy.
Hi.
Bedtime. I know you have school tomorrow.
Oh, boo, school.
I love school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He just doesn't love getting up.
That's the worst part. All right. What's up, Decker? All right, I'm going to mute everybody. We're going to get started. I'm recording, so I'll just have to fix some of this stuff. All right. All right, so I'm super excited for tonight's call. But before we get started, it is, I don't even know the date. It's the 3rd, right? Labor Day throws me off. It's the 3rd. So it's September 3rd, first week of September. Pumpkin Spice launched today. It's bananas, 48,000 units already sold, and that was like a couple hours ago. So what a great time to freaking leverage like what we have going on. And if you don't know, in November, we're going to have the peppermint mocha Shakeology, and that's my fave. Like I'm going to be on the computer. It was stressful just getting pumpkin spice, let's be honest. So that comes at the end of November, and we'll keep you posted on that. So it'll be the same thing, very limited quantities, and it'll be the 14 packet box. So that's excited. We can't wait for that. So before we get started, I see Kristina hopped on. Hi, Kristina. She is all the way from Montreal, right? She's from Montreal. Oh, let me unmute her.
I'm living in Montreal.
She's living in Montreal, and I really wanted Kristina to jump on. Backstory, we met through Instagram, and we connected. And you ever know when you meet someone that you were like, this girl is like, this is my jam. This girl is just speaking the life over me. And every time like her stuff would pop up into my feed, it just hit me right where I needed it, right where I was at. And I was like, listen, can you come speak on my team call? And so what I really want to do is we're getting ready to transition into September. As you know, we're getting ready to head into the 3rd quarter. And this is when, you know, our businesses, like this is the potential. We made it through summer, but this is the potential for our businesses to explode. And we see these things happen after summertime where so many coaches are like, I'm feeling really rejected and I'm feeling really disappointed because my business is not where I want it to be. And so I really wanted Kristina to come on today because she is going to share some tips with us about how we can manage that feeling of rejection and how to navigate that disappointment, especially because so many of us we have such a strong faith base. So how can we still know our purpose and what God has called us to do for our lives and these dreams that we have? But when we're dealing with rejection and we're dealing with disappointment, it all feels like everything's going so wrong. And so I was like, you got to come speak on this. And so I'm just going to turn the buck over to you, girl, because I'm just excited to hear you speak.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, so my name's Kristina, and it's super awesome to be on here. So rejection is something that rejection has been a beast in my life because I've dealt with it since I was a kid. So I can definitely talk a bit about this in the sense of my own story. So I'm just going to give you guys a little overview really quick. So yeah, as I was growing up, I moved around the world, and I was also a middle child. So I faced a lot of situations where I felt rejected, but I took it on as my identity as someone who is rejected. And there's a difference, and it's really hard when you're a child not to take that on. So growing up, I kind of partnered with self-rejection at a really young age. So I can definitely understand those feelings of when you're selling to someone or you're reaching out to people, you want to like help change someone's life, but then you're also afraid that they'll say no, or those feels, because there's a lot inside of you that's saying no to yourself. And so it's really hard to break out of that, to reach out to people and really serve them. And so for me, I'm just going to share a little story. A lot of my story has to do with singing. And so I faced a lot of rejection with that as a child. There came a point where I just stopped singing altogether because I really felt like I was too unworthy to do it. And that happened with a lot of different situations growing up. I was at a concert and I was playing piano, or I was going to do a piano concert, and then I just forgot everything, and my teacher ignored me for the rest of the year. Things like that would just happen that would make me feel like, oh, I need to stop doing this because I'm not worthy to do it. I'm not good enough. And the funny thing is, that's the thing that I felt like I'm called to do the most from God. So the more I got to know God, the more I was saved when I was 18. So the closer I got to him after that, and the more I grew with him, the more he started to pull singing back out. And it really like scared me because I really had shoved that away because I really did not feel good enough to do that. And so I had started to like sing with different worship teams and different things like that. And I just really felt this pull to use my gift and to use my talent and to do what I felt was on my heart from God. And so I made it onto this one little worship team when I was in school at this little place. And it was really small, but I didn't even audition, and they just wanted me on the team. And so that's why I thought, okay, I think I can try out for church or something like that. And then I felt so strongly like I was supposed to try out, and then I did not get it 3 different times in a row. And it really was hard because I felt almost betrayed by God, because I am really confused, because I really felt like, this is what I'm born to do. Why are you leading me to something I'm born to do? And then all these doors are shutting in my face. And it was really hard because I really had to work through that. I actually felt like I had this image that God led me up a staircase and then just let me fall down when I got to the top. He didn't really let me, he didn't take me all the way. And so I was just really confused because I really felt like it wasn't something that I just had a desire to do to please myself. I just really felt like it was from God. This is on my life. And yet all these doors were shutting. And so it was really hard because disappointment feels so deep. It's something that you feel like you're actually like in a pit and you cannot pull yourself out unless God can give you that strength. And so the first thing I had to do was I really just had to be honest with him. And I had to say that it was hard. I had to be real about the fact that I felt like God led me to something that was, supposed to work out, and it didn't. But I really felt like it was from him, and it didn't happen. And I had to be real about how frustrated I was, because you really can't move forward until you let it all out. And so a lot of times, another thing that I learned too is that a lot of times we discern something from God, and we know this is on our life. We know we're born to do this. We're born to reach people. We're born to impact people. We're born to, change people's lives, transform people's lives, just like we know we're born to be used by God for that. But a lot of times we discern it, and then we think it's supposed to happen right immediately. And so what I didn't realize was that God was still shaping me to be able to take me to the right door at the right time, to be able to open up doors for me to be able to sing, but have a maximum impact. And so every door that was shutting in my face was actually shaping me on the inside to get me into that door that was going to open up. And I could be able to walk through it and actually be able to sustain the promise that I'm walking through, and have the character and the ability to live it out to my full potential, my maximum potential, because I'd walked past so many closed doors, and each one just shapes you a little more inside of you, just becomes more built to be able to grow into the person you need to be to walk through the right door. And so I was really confused, but I learned a few practical things, and I've been living these out. These are like on my life that I feel like every day I have the opportunity to live out and walk through. And so I'm just going to share a few. I think it's 5 points, just to like help you understand what you can do if you're feeling these feelings of rejection, or like afraid to reach out to people because you're afraid what they'll think, or if they'll say no, or you're feeling like you're not further along than you should be or you want to be with your business. So first things first, God is not fazed by your rejection. And so a lot of times in the beginning, I was really confused because it just felt so out of the blue that how could God possibly be in this? So I'm like, God, and also the fact that God put this on my heart, and this happened, and this door all these doors kept massively shutting my face. It really felt like maybe God isn't in this. Like, is he just not paying attention? Because how could this possibly happen with him, being sovereign? But actually what I didn't realize was that, like I said, each door had a purpose. Each door had a purpose to shape me, and each door had a purpose to prepare me and to get me ready to be the person to walk through the right door. And so just like one great thing to remember is that we don't actually have to be offended or bitter when doors shut in our face, because God allowed them for a reason. And I mean, God, he's always has your best interest at heart. So anytime a door shuts, it's because he knows there's a better door, and not necessarily better in terms of just, it'll make you feel good when you walk through the door. Like, yes, he loves us that way, but you're going to have a maximum impact, like the maximum impact that you can have in your calling and your business and what you're born to do and your passions are going to be when you walk through the door that he already planned. And so a lot of times each door that shuts in our face is getting us ready to have that impact so that you can actually reach more people than you were expecting, more people than you were planning, more people than you were preparing for. And it's more people than you can do on your own. Like, really only God can take you that far. And so, yeah, just remember, God is not fazed by your rejection. The second thing I would say is that rejection is not your identity. So this is a huge one. Yeah, I grew up with this feeling that because, and a lot of times, you face rejection when you still have rejection to heal from in your heart, because God wants to heal you from it. But I grew up taking it on. Every time I would get rejected, I felt, okay, I'm rejected. I am a rejected, I should reject myself. You start to hate yourself. You start to feel horrible. And that is not from God. And rejection is not who you are. It is not your identity. And it is a choice. The hard thing is it's a choice. And growing up, you don't know this. So I grew up, I've had to unravel this now. Growing up, when you're a child, you take things on as your identity way easier without really understanding or knowing, unless you're actually intentionally knowing that. But as you're older, we have to learn to not partner with it. That's a big thing. When someone says no, when people aren't responding the way that you wish they would, or they're not reaching out as much, or they're not, your business isn't as flourishing as you want it to be in that moment, you've got to remember that you're not rejected. Your business is not rejected. What you're doing is not rejection. Like, rejection is not your identity. And so these things can happen to us, but they're not who we are. And so it's important to have that mindset and keep that thought process going throughout whatever you're doing, because at the end of the day, our thoughts control our actions, control how we feel about what we're doing, how we feel about how we should persist. They hold us back, they keep us going. And so it's really important to pay attention to that and not let rejection label itself on you, because it's not who you are. And a lot of times I will, I'll catch myself starting to feel like, okay, I'm just always going to be rejected. And I just have to break in that moment. I just have to say that is not true. And I do not partner with that lie. And a lot of times you still won't feel good, even if you say those things over and over again, but our feelings will follow eventually. We've just got to keep remembering the truth, because that is not who you are, and you're born to flourish, and so is your business. And God has that plan for you, and it's a specific blueprint for your business. Each business is different, and there's nothing that's going to look exactly the same as everyone else's. And so you've got to remember that there's a unique plan for you. And so then the third thing that I would say is that as I was saying before, it's okay to be real about the pain. A lot of times we say, okay, slap some truth on it, slap a Bible verse and move on with your merry way. And you can't move on unless you're open with God about how you're feeling. You've got to be honest. And I struggle with that. I don't know if you guys know the Enneagram, but I'm a 7. And so I really struggle with being real about my pain, and I feel like I've come a long way, but I'm always trying to grow in that. But you've got to tell God how it feels. If something is hard, if something didn't work out the way you wanted it to, or people didn't respond the way you wanted to, you've got to be real about it. And it's okay. He wants you to be real about that. Let the frustration out, let the confusion out. Just don't let bitterness fester, because that's going to hold you back. A lot of times we think, well, if I just ignore the pain, then it'll just go away. But really, you're just carrying it with you everywhere. And each time you face a disappointment, which you will face disappointments, it's a real thing, especially when you're growing a business. Each time you face a disappointment, you're going to either have a choice to hold on to it and just ignore it and try to push through, or just be real about it, acknowledge it, give language to it, and let it go. And a lot of times that's when you can actually receive the truth and keep moving forward. Because really just slapping a Bible verse on it won't actually heal you. And there's actually science behind this with our brains. I listen to a lot of Dr. Caroline Leaf, and I know she talks about this too. There's a lot of times where we just try and say Bible verses over and over to ourselves, but we're not giving language to the pain that's inside of us, and our brains are just going to keep focusing on the negative until we bring language to it and bring it out. So that's actually one of the main ways that I've been able to keep moving forward after so many rejections, just not just rejections, but disappointments, just really painful things that can actually become a part of us if we don't be real about letting them go. So yeah, and I definitely had to do this in terms of worship too, because I really felt like that was on my life and it didn't happen at that moment that I thought. So, and then the fourth thing that I would say is that the pain of disappointment will either destroy you or drive you. And I say this a lot because at the end of the day, like I said before, it's a choice. So once you've been real about it, you need to put it in his hands. I always visualize myself in really, really deep moments of disappointment. I visualize myself putting the disappointment into his hands, just having no idea why this happened, why it had to be this way. I have no answers. I don't feel great in the moment at all. So feelings are not, but I'm real about them, and I just put them into his hands. I visualize it, and then I just don't pick it up again. I make the choice. Okay, God, you allowed this, and you know why. And I know you have my best interest at heart now that I've been real about it, and I've gotten the frustration out. And then you've got to pick up this piece. You can pick it up. You can take something else in your hand. When you have a heavy load like this, disappointment is a heavy load, but we're not actually designed to carry heavy loads. His yoke is easy, his burden is light, and we give him the heavy things. He carries the heaviness, he carries the disappointment, he carries the pain, he carries the frustration, and we put that into his hands and pick up his piece. We pick up his light burden, because his burden is light. So we're supposed to carry that. So we carry what he gives us, and that's his peace. And we can keep moving forward because we've laid it out and let him take the heavy stuff so we can keep moving. And so that's the biggest thing. And that's a choice. That's really hard. But we have to remember that he does have our best interests at heart, and we don't have to get offended, because at the end of the day, we do have a specific, unique blueprint for our lives that he's forming, he's weaving, and we don't have to worry. But you have to be real about it first, and then you've got to give it to him. And so those are the huge things that I literally visualize myself doing that. Because he allowed it to shape something in you that's actually spurring you on towards your destiny. It's spurring you on towards the correct door that you are going to walk through, because he's going to open it. And when God opens the door, it's great, because you don't have to keep the door open. He's keeping the door open. So you're walking through it, and he's sustaining it, because you didn't, knock the door down and kick it down and then try to push yourself through it. And it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right people. It wasn't the right place. It wasn't the right, everything about it was not correct. And you pushed yourself through that door, and now you've got to keep the door open. And those are things that God doesn't want us to have to do. He wants to keep the door open for you. He wants to keep you where he has planned for you. And so we've got to remember that when we walk through the door, it's going to be light. It's going to be easy. It's not that it's going to be a breeze. There's going to still be hard things. And a lot of times when you're walking through the correct door, you'll still face challenges. You'll still face opposition, because it's the right way you're going. But you won't feel like it's a striving. You won't feel like you're the one keeping the door open for yourself, which you're not supposed to feel, because God has a plan for you, and he wants to be the one to do it. And then the last thing that I would say, the last point, the fifth point, is that he's actually going to use this rejection to heal you and prepare you so you can face whatever happens down the road when you get to that promise you're believing for, when you walk through that right door, when your business starts booming the way you want it to be. A lot of times, like I said, when we hit those doors where we're just like, why did this happen? Why can't I walk through it? Something is shaping on the inside of you that's preparing you for when you're carrying your business at a bigger capacity. So you're going to get more people. When you walk through the right door, more people are going to come your way. More people are going to want to be, want your services, want your business. They're going to want to work with you. They're going to see the value you have for them and your product and your service has for their lives. But when more people do that, you need to be ready for that. You need to be ready to handle what comes your way when bigger things come down the road. So a lot of times this rejection heals those places in our hearts that isn't going to be able to handle the bigger things that happen when you walk through that door and you receive that promise. And so a lot of times what I had to do is that I would end up getting rejected, and then I would end up having to take my power back from rejection every time that I would get rejected. So I didn't realize that I had to face rejection in order to, overcome it. Like a lot of times we want to skirt around the pain. We want to skirt around our biggest fear. We don't want to have to face these things that are actually building us on the inside. But I had to face it to actually take my power back from rejection and be able to handle it in a stronger way and overcome it the next time it happened to me. And I noticed this. I noticed I would get rejected. It would get really hurt. And then all of a sudden, like something would be shaping and forming me on the inside and I couldn't tell. And then I would get rejected again. And all of a sudden there was something in me that could handle it. There was something stronger in me that I knew, like my identity was brought back. And I felt like, wait a second, it never left, but I had taken it. I had partnered with my real identity and not with someone who is a reject or something like that. And I noticed the difference. I could feel it in my bones. I could feel it in myself. I was like, wow, this rejection wasn't as hard as the first one. And it's because God built me through the first one and through several before that. He's been building me to be able to handle these things. And at the end of the day, he hates when we're tormented by rejection and we're tormented by pain. He hates it. And that's a lot of times why we have to face it sometimes to overcome it. So we can actually get rid of this torment and not partner with it again. But you've got to face it to overcome it instead of skirting around the pain. That's a lot of the ways that he heals us, is being able to walk through it and say, you know what, this does not define me. I will keep moving forward and my business will flourish in time because it's born to. God has something on my life that is going to impact thousands of people. It's going to impact so many women. I don't know who your target market is, but it's going to impact those specific people because it's on my life to do. And you've got to keep telling yourself that. And all of a sudden you start to believe that more. And that actually brings you towards the door that he wants you to walk through, where those people will start coming and you will start having that impact. So yeah, especially as an entrepreneur, it's just really important to remember that anytime you feel really strong disappointment or rejection or anything like that, that is going to build you. It's going to make you stronger, and you are going to make the choice to let it drive you and not destroy you. And that's a choice. David, I don't know if in the Bible, I don't know if you read the story, but he fought lions and bears before he actually fought Goliath. Like when he was fighting Goliath, he had already fought lions and bears and all these different, wild beasts. And that really prepared him for that moment when he was going to fight Goliath. And that was a part of his destiny. And God had that in his life, but he had him go through a process first to be able to get there. At a maximum capacity. So any no's that you hear are actually going to shape you for the doors you will walk through. And they're going to build you for your purpose. And you're going to be able to sustain the promise that's coming and to sustain the amount of growth that your business has been growing. Right now, you're growing with your business. And at the point when it starts to really skyrocket, that's when all the fruit and of the roots that God dug really deep in those seasons are going to you're going to see that God really did a deep work in you to be able to sustain what happens when you reach that promise and your business grows to that maximum capacity. Because he wants to build you, and he wants to prepare you and your character and your anointing and everything that you have on your life to impact people. He's preparing for that time. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's so good. Like, I'm like, no, the pain of disappointment will either destroy you or drive you. And I know Erin said it too, but I was like, that was deep. That resonated with me and was like a mic drop. That was so good. So, well, let me ask you this, because you talked about how you visualize, giving the burden to God so that you can release it and take back your power. Do you have a routine that you go through, to to get your positive, mental status, when it comes
Yep.
to when you're getting ready to post, or when you're reaching out to do the things that you do in your own daily life, in your own business and world.
Yeah.
What prepares you? What's your like daily ritual or daily practice like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, for me, a lot of the times I've got to keep prayer and I've got to keep God's presence as a continual conversation. It can't just be something that I think about once throughout the day and then I, keep moving on with my day. A lot of times what sustains me is keeping his presence at the forefront of my mind throughout the day, just talking to him throughout the day. And then when I'm preparing to post, to honestly, like, I've been able to really get out all the frustration, the disappointment, the things that we pick up during the day. You will not go through a day when you don't pick up something that's a little frustrating or a little, worry or a little insecurity. Things start to come on, and you've got to be making it a practice of continuously letting those things out to the Lord before, that's one of the reasons why when I'm posting or when I'm reaching out to people, or when people are reaching out to me, and I'm able to stay positive and stay, excited and to stay, really just like in a posture where I'm just saying, bringing it all back to the Lord and what he's doing, and encouraging people in that. I honestly I've gotten out a lot of the other stuff in private on my own throughout the day, in moments where I just, really, things are just really hard. I just have to give language to it. I've done that without doing that, on social media or in front of, or, with trusted people in my community, or, I just make sure I'm constantly getting those things out on the side, so that if I'm ever posting or talking to people or reaching with people, that's from a place of faith, and not ever negating the pain or anything like that, because that will not help heal it, but not vomiting my negativity all over everything, so just making sure that I'm doing that with the Lord, because he wants us to do that. And so each day, a lot of times I'll spend moments where I'm just, I'll make sure each day that I'm constantly thinking of him, and I'm constantly talking to him throughout the day. And I'm constantly, if I feel something frustrating and it's just starting to carry, I will literally stop everything and I will just get it out of myself. I'll talk about it. I'll let it, be real with God about those things. And that's a lot of times what helps you push through it and be able to handle sharing, and then on top of all of that, making sure I'm in the Word, making sure I'm always, renewing my mind, because at the end of the day, yeah, we can be real about it and all those things, but you've got to have some truth to come back on you in those moments. And especially if you want to be speaking the truth, you've got to be inserting the truth. We release what we take in. And so anytime that I want to share things, I want to make sure it's filtered with the truth, filtered with the Word. And that can only come from reading the Word. That can only come from listening to the Word. That can only come from, sometimes I'll listen because I don't feel like reading, or, I'll find a way to get the Word in me, or I'll just meditate on one scripture all day, or I'll ask God, give me a word that I need to focus on for the week or for today or however much. And sometimes I see a word come to mind, or I feel something in my heart and I'm like, okay, sometimes it's peace. Sometimes it's, glory, or I'll feel things that I need to meditate on. And then I can start, finding scriptures like that. Cause those are the things God knows what our hearts needs in those moments. And he knows what we need, and he knows what we need to meditate on and what our minds need to be renewed on. And so that's a daily thing that we should always be doing. And sometimes if it's not daily, at least every few, it's constantly making sure you're asking the Lord and having questions with him about these things. It really helps you keep moving forward. And it really helps you not end up being, afraid to talk to people, or insecure to talk to people, or to share your heart, because you've let out the disappointment, those things God's on your side, your identity, and you feel strong in those moments, even if you have those moments throughout the day where you feel a little insecure, or you just don't want to do this, or you're tired, or you're worried, that which will always happen because life. So that's what I would say.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Kristina about how to releasing any of this, letting go of the rejection, negativity, or anything like that? I think you nailed it, girl. Like, you freaking nailed it. I'm just like, this is so good. I'm so excited and so thankful that you could jump on with us for tonight and share these tips with us. I'm just blessed. I'm blessed that we connected. I don't think it's any accident that we connected. I told Jessie is another one of my IG friends, and we connected because I was like, this is my sister right here. You know what I mean? Like you just meet people and you're like, okay, that is my vibe. Like Lauren, I've known for a long time, and Erin, and we're success partners, and Jessica, she's like relatively new to the business, just like, you know, your people. And, you know, we love being surrounded by positive, like-minded women. And thank you.
Yeah,
Like, I'm just so thankful.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, what I wanted to do for the last little bit of our time together was I wanted to kind of go over, while we're talking about rejection, while we're talking about disappointment, really going over what the last little bit of our year looks like, and just really evaluating ourselves and our businesses, because I think it's good to check in a business sense into our mindset, check into what we're doing, our daily actions and activities every day. And so whether you're watching this live or whether you're catching the recording, I really want you to just take some time, and I really want you to answer these questions. I'm going to pull them up, and you don't have to answer them out loud, but I really want you to think about this. You know, if you have big goals, which so many of us do, we're thinking outside the box. We know that God has called us to do things that are scary, that we want to have these lives for our families and for ourselves that we either never had, or we're dreaming big, and we got to make sure that we're keeping ourselves in check. And so if we are working on these goals, we should be able to answer yes to all of these questions. And so I really want you to honestly think about this, write it down in your journal or whatever. But like the first question is, are you being proof that the products work? Are you showing up every day for your journey? Are you drinking Shakeology or Performance Line, or using the products and just in your everyday life, not being weird? Are you doing this for you? Are you taking care of yourself? That's our first vital behavior, is being proof the products work. The second question is your status active? Yes or no? That means, is your coach account active? Do you have a minimum of 50 PV to stay active as a coach? The third one is, are you currently receiving a monthly subscription product? Either Shakeology, Performance Line, collagen, whatever. Are you getting something every month on subscription? The fourth one is, have you completed a program from start to finish? The fifth one is, do you listen to the national wake-up call each week, whether it's live or on the recording, because we know things happen. The sixth one is, do you get on our team calls, whether they're live or whether they're recorded? Number 7, are you registered for Summit next year? Number 8, are you planning to attend the next Super Saturday in October? Number 9, can you verbalize your why? Knowing your why, what is fueling your business, is going to be so powerful, especially when it comes to that rejection, when it comes to facing that disappointment, because I can speak for Lauren and for Erin. We've been coaching for quite some time now. I've been coaching for 4 years. I think we're all coming up on the 4-year mark. This business has its highs and this business has its lows. And, we have to be able to verbalize our whys in there. And because our why is going to be the thing that is so powerful when those low moments come, that we're like, this is going to be the thing that drags me through this valley right now. And so making sure you can verbalize your why, that's huge. That's so important. The 10th question is, are you showing up daily on social media? Whether it's in your stories, whether it's on your post, are you doing something to share? It doesn't even have to be about Beachbody, but are you showing up every day on social media so people can see your face, so that you're engaging with people, so that people are like, oh yeah, there goes Jane, and she's doing whatever, her dogs are cute, or she's doing this workout, or she's showed this awesome recipe. But are you showing up daily? The 11th one kind of goes along with that, and it says, are you posting on purpose and with a strategy? The trainings that we have set up for you in New Coach University, if you haven't been through those are so helpful when it comes to posting, knowing what to post, how to post with strategy. Sorry, my cat was playing with my toes. How to post with purpose and strategy, and not just putting a sweaty selfie out and being like, I just finished my workout today. It's so great. Number 42 out of 100. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, love. People want to know your story. People want to know, was it hard for you to get up and go down and do your workout and you drug your butt out of bed because you made a commitment to your family and you wanted to be a good example to your kids? Or did something happen and you're like feeling this extreme low moment in your life and you're reading your personal development and something stuck out at you and you were like, wow, I needed that at that exact moment? Those are the things people want to connect with you. That's what social media is, right? It's to connect. It's to be social. So making sure that we're posting content that people want to hear. They want to hear our stories. They don't want to just see a product, right? That's being salesy and that's being slimy, but they want to see you. They want to hear your story. They want to hear the things you're overcoming as you're along on this journey. Number 12 is, did you hit Success Club last month? Number 13, did you finish a personal development book or program last month? Number 14, did you successfully implement a tip, a tool, or a strategy from a recent training? And then the last one is, are you actively engaging with everyone on your team? And so these are in each of our team pages too. And so we'll repost them so that you can take a good look at those questions. But really, if you're, and even I think for Erin and Lauren and myself, we even struggle in some of those areas. I know that I'm not at a yes for all 15 of those questions, but if I can sit back and I can go, okay, I'm struggling. I don't know. I bet you Lauren can attest to this. Lauren, you shared with us the other day about last month, how you struggled a lot last month and how you kind of went through that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So July and August are my super busy seasons for work. And my daughter's nationals, we have baseball tournaments, like it's crazy. So I was having a hard time getting my power hours in. And in turn, because I was like running here, running there, running there, I got to the point where I was like, this is too hard to even get my PD in. Like I'm barely in the car. I don't even have time to turn it on. Or like my kids were in the car a lot and I would like be like, okay, I should listen to them and maybe not listen to something else. Or at work, we were just so busy, I couldn't work with my headphones in because I was trying to put out all these fires. So not listening to my personal development and then turned into, I don't have time to get my power hour in tonight, turned into, I'm struggling with the rejection that I'm getting, turned into, I don't even know how to connect with people. It's a ripple effect and it just spirals and spirals and spirals. And so when you allow that to take place, and like Erin said, I mean, I've been a coach now for 3.5 years. It happens to everybody. So it's so, and it's so interesting is that in this process, I'm reading this book, The Slight Edge. If you haven't read it, you have to read it. And I haven't read it in so long. So I picked it back up again, and it just talks about the simple things like building those healthy habits and doing them every single day, little by little, and being consistent. That's how you're going to make a difference. And so for me, going into July, or coming out of July, going into August, your business builds on each other, right? So if you find that you're like down for weeks or a couple weeks or whatever, and you don't hit your stuff, if you had any momentum going, your momentum is going to drop. And then it's like riding a bike again. You can, it takes a while to get pedaling. And once you're pedaling, you're going, right? It's not as hard. You're going along. And if you hit a hill, if you stop, you're going to probably roll backwards. Where if you just continue to just keep going and chugging along, you're eventually going to get to the top and then you're going to be able to start rolling again. But so August, I'll be honest, I didn't hit SC. And I went through the emotions like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I listening to? And I actually pulled that list out that Amanda just shared with you. Like, I can't blame anyone but me. So knowing that, get your PD in every day. Honestly, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it doesn't have to be an hour long. It makes a difference. And listening to something or reading something that is talking to you at where you're at in the moment. So like I heard this one time, like, don't listen to Rachel Hollis every day if that's not what you need, right? listen to something that's talking to you. Like, honestly sit back and be like, what is stopping me right now? What is my barrier? And find something. So I pulled back on a lot of the books I was reading because I was like, I should be reading this. I should be reading this. Being a leader wasn't what I needed. I needed to go back to the basics. I needed to build the belief that I can do it, to build the mindset. So sometimes you just have to step back and be like, okay, what do I need right now? And what can I do? Those IPAs, your Business Success Club tracker, this is your basic building blocks, honestly, guys. If you were to look back in my book, the last couple months, there's like okay, like let me show you this week right here. This is terrible. Like nothing's filled out, honestly. And that was beginning of August. So yeah, so it was no doubt that there's no reason. I mean, it's all right there why I didn't hit it. And so it's just building those little things. So just keep at it. Even if you can't do 20 invites, send 3 invites. If you can't connect for 40 minutes, take 10 minutes. Everyone is on the bathroom toilet for at least 10 minutes throughout the day. You can go into your stories and connect with 3 people on the toilet. And I kid you not, I know it sounds funny because when I first heard it, I was like, oh, gross. I don't want to be on my toilet with my phone. No, seriously, I do it. Okay. I'll be at work and I'll be like, you can easily watch a few stories and connect, right? So making those connections, honestly, connecting, inviting, expanding. Do the IPAs every day. The power of 3. I know Amanda talked about the power of 3 before. I just posted it in my team page. The power of 3 makes a difference. So just stick with it. Just be consistent, because even it gets hard no matter what. Life just takes over sometimes. So just believe that you can, and don't let up on the PD. The PD is such a vital. It didn't make any sense, but it's honestly so vital.
Yeah, I wanted to second that because after surgery, I went through a period where I wasn't listening to much PD because I was falling asleep every second while I was listening to it. And I could see my emotions start to just take over. And it wasn't positivity coming out of me. Like, that's what I love about this life, is that I feel happy and positive. And even when hard things hit me, I feel very, very still, like, I can handle this, whatever comes, I can handle it. And I started feeling very, oh my gosh, this is too much. And all these things are getting out of control. And I started to my anxiety started coming back, and I wasn't exercising because I couldn't, but the PD is something I could have done that I pulled back on for a few weeks, and it really affected me mentally. So if there is anything that any of us can just say over and over again, it is do your personal development every single day, and do it first thing in the morning. Like, don't wait to do this later. Do it first thing in the morning, even if it's 10 minutes. The second I wake up and come out of my room, because everyone else is still asleep, I turn on my scriptures and I listen to some of my scriptures while I'm going around the kitchen and getting like either my herbal tea or whatever. And then I go straight to my personal development, either a physical book or a podcast or something, because that's the way you want to start out your day, so that your first interaction with your family is positive because you already feel positive, and your first interaction with your audience on social media is positive. It's not, oh, I am so tired, I did not want to wake up today. It's, yeah, I'm going to crush this freaking day. It just makes such a difference if you start out the day that way. And I noticed that, like Lauren said too, I love that she pointed this out, because we were talking about it yesterday. The personal development, there was, in Micah's thread, a lot of the girls were talking about this certain podcast that they were all listening to and how it was so good. I listened to it and I was like, yeah, this is really good, but that's not what I needed right at this time. Like, I was struggling with the scarcity mindset, and I needed to feel more abundant. And I've gone through this several times, and I know what books helped pull me out of that. So I went back to those books, the ones I've listened to 3 or 4 times. I went back to them and started listening to them again. And guess what? I am getting better and better every single day at thinking more abundantly. You just have to find what works for you. And out of all the PD lists we've got in the team Google Drive, there are so many things in there that you guys could never be wanting for more personal development. So that's my little piece.
I love it. So even if I think probably the general consensus is, even if you don't have yeses for all 15, this week, like, just take 3 things that you know you can improve on. What are 3 things that you were like, you know what, I'm going to take this and I'm going to work on this week, and talk to your coach. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help mentor you and help guide you on this journey, because you don't have to do it alone. That's the beauty of having a team and being around positive women, because we can all help each other. We all have different strengths. We all have different gifts where we can all come along alongside of each other, and we can link arms and we can do this all together. You don't have to do this business alone. Being an entrepreneur is very hard. And going from I was just reading I'm reading this book called The Balanced Entrepreneur, and she talks about going from an employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset, and what a shift it is. Because, I worked full-time. I worked full-time for 2 years when I first started coaching, and I was not as consistent with my business as I should have, because I still had that employee hat on, where somebody dictated my money to me, where I worked for someone else, and I knew that I would get this set amount of money for this set amount of time I worked. And then when I had to switch it over to this entrepreneur mindset and say, I get to create, like, I had to really get down. That's why you see me plan out my week every week. I get to plan out my hours. I get to plan out when I'm going to make my business work for me. And it's a shift, right? And when you work full-time, Lauren does this too. You have on the employee hat, and then you have to put on the entrepreneur hat. But I think if you just keep walking alongside of us, because we're here to help you. And you can take small steps forward every day. You don't have to, like Lauren said, it doesn't have to be about throwing out 50 invites, 10 invites a day. No, just start simple. Start where you're at. If you're like, I can do 3 invites a day, do 3 invites a day. If you can talk to 3 people a day, do it. If 3 follow-ups, just do it. That consistency will build and build and grow, and then you'll get that big momentum. That's when the shift happens. That's what happened to me over the last few months. All of this work that I've been putting in for the last year, is now starting to come to fruition. It's now starting to come to where I need to be. And it's those fruits, right? And it's all those no's. It's all those rejections. It's all those things that disappointed me, where I was telling Lauren and Aaron, like, this sucks. This is so hard. I don't know. And they were like, keep going. Just keep doing the right things. You know what you're doing. Now it's paying off. It's not a get rich quick scheme, right? It's something that you have to build into and pour into every day. So pour into here, pour into your heart, go out and love people, have the mindset that you want to leave an impact, and you will do it. And link arms with us. That's what we're here to do. We're here to mentor you. So, one last thing before we hop off tonight. Aaron and Lauren and I have been chatting, and we, as you know, we are success partners. So the 3 of us have been working closely together for the last couple years, and we are partnering together to do a corporate kind of like team-wide retreat for all of our coaches. And so there's going to be some things, there's going to be qualifications, there's going to be things you need. As you are hitting your goals, we want to help reward you for hitting your goals, because we want you to know that you matter, right? When you hit your goals, that's so exciting to us. We want to see you doing big, huge things with your business. And so we're planning a retreat. It's going to be in the spring. I think we decided like spring, early June at the latest. It'll be before Summit. And it'll be just a little weekend kind of getaway for us ladies to get together, to have some bonding time together. I'm sure we're going to have some people come and speak, but it's really going to be a time for us to just grow as humans, grow in our friendship, have experienced that sense of community, and to really get to just like partner up with each other because it's huge and it's so important. And we want to celebrate you, and we want to recognize you guys for all your achievements that you are going to make over the next quarter, because we know that you are going to make it. So be on the lookout for that. We will be sharing details as that comes into play. And then the last thing is I really want you to get with your coach. I want you to get with your sponsor, and I want you to write down your fourth quarter goals. And I'm going to share it in the threads too. But there's just a couple questions that I really want you guys to think of when it comes to the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter is holiday season. And so it's really going to ask you some questions about what you want the fourth quarter to look like for you, how it could bless you, what you could do with that, with extra income. And I really want you to think about it. And I want you to answer those questions, talk to your sponsor coach, because we want to help you get there. Okay. So anybody have questions before we hop off? You guys are amazing. If you're catching the recording, we love you. Have an amazing night. Everyone, keep Erin in your prayers. She's going in for surgery on Thursday for a shoulder. She's like, oh, don't talk about it. And then Raphael is going in for a procedure too. So if you don't hear from me on Friday for a little bit, it's because we're both in the hospital. What are we going to do? It's just how life goes. So we love you guys, and I will post a recording probably tomorrow. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.